Welcome to week 2 of the photography club, and wow, everyone's doing nicely. Loving the photographs coming in, as you can see. I just want to look through and see them, look through the photographs. So, anyway, enough of that, right? In this week is a much shorter and easier week in some ways. Last week was, more technical. Those three aspects: how do we get light into the camera, and how do we control that? Today, we're just going to look at one thing, and that is the rule of 2/3, so to speak. So if we open up our document and say, here's what you've got, our photo club. As I said, this just updating each week and adding the new week onto it. So we can scroll down, there, all the fun things we did. And this week's the rule of thirds. I think I said the rule of 2/3. Anyway, the rule of thirds. The idea behind this is just that if you put your subject slap bang in the middle of the photograph, it's not always that exciting. It might be a good photograph. Remember, none of these things are hard and fast rules. Nothing saying that one photograph's definitely better than another. But sometimes a nice little trick is just instead of putting it in the middle of the photo. So you can see here I've got this jar that says thank you, and I've just put it in the middle of the photograph. Not too bad, but it does just make it a little bit more interesting if you put that subject into a third across either way. So a third into the frame. So in this case, this is a third into the frame from the right and a third into the frame from the bottom. And you'll see this particularly when you're taking photographs of people. If you take a photograph and you've got somebody and they're just sitting there and they're or standing there, it doesn't matter, and they're in the middle, it's not that interesting. But just move them across a little bit and just play with it. And that's the whole point, is just play around, move them there. And when I say move them, move your camera. So you're taking a photograph, you say, cool, let me take a photo. And as you're taking a photo, go, no, let me just move this up and along a bit, and then they'll be at a better place in the frame. So just to show maybe another photograph I took just recently, I took these of these lovely smoothies that we've been having for breakfast, and I took it and kind of naturally just put it into a third of the frame. So when I put a grid on top of it, I saw, hey, this smoothie here, the one that's in focus, is bang on in that top right corner. There it is, in the top right of those thirds. And then as you go along, formed a nice line along the thirds, including the bird bath here. And the stem was nicely down this third. So you might have other elements of the photograph, and those are going to be somewhere in the frame. So how do we do this? Because how do you know exactly? You sit there going, well, that's kind of a third. Well, what's quite nice is that in our cameras, we have this stuff showing for us automatically. So I think I had my phone here, and let me load up this camera and say, so here we go. I go into my photo app and I want to take a photo, and I know it's a little bit faint there, but you can put this grid on, and that's the point of that grid if you've ever seen it. So at my phone I go settings, and somewhere down here it says grid. There we go. So again, you don't have to see exactly, but there's something that says grid lines, and I've turned it on. So now when I take a photo, the grid appears, so I can put my subject. On a big camera like this, if I put on live view, you will maybe see over there, you can just see there's a grid that's imposed over there. So up there, there's a grid that's on top of it, so that when I take the photograph, I can choose, okay, well, I can take the photograph, and then line up my subject and say, there we go, let's take it and maybe I'll put my eyes in those thirds along there and things up, but more generally just so you can really line up where your subject's going to be. So there's where it can help you do it while you're taking the photograph, as opposed to just having to guess. So that's this week, rule of thirds. Take one photograph where your subject, whatever it is, I'm just going to look for something here and say, let's say that I were to take the photograph of this, instead of putting it right in the middle of the frame, I'm going to choose to put it a third somewhere in one of those corners, just to play with how it's a bit more interesting, whatever your subject happens to be. friends, family, dogs, cats, those types of things all make great subjects. So yeah, that's what we're looking at this week. Looking forward to seeing, I'm recording this before the club, so it's available on the website afterwards, but I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in a few minutes time where we can do this live properly. So see you soon.